Hey everybody, and welcome back to another First Time Watch Friday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and we got an awesome guest here, Chad Meisenheimer. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing great, bud. Thank you for letting me come on.
Oh, dude, I'm excited. We've done this kind of shows a lot. I think you were on 31 Days of Indie Horror, at
Hmm.
least last year, I know.
Yes.
I don't know if you were on other ones too, but
I
you
think
were
I
on.
made like two or three of them. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was on a few times last year. Yeah.
Yeah, you were. You were also on like the Quick Review Thursday talking about
Hmm.
Killer Blood and a few other ones. But this one is The Devil's Den, which I didn't know anything going in. I just knew it was a horror film on Tubi. That's all I knew. And I gave it to you, sent it to you, did not look it up, did not check anything out. And then when I started seeing the cast listing, I was like, Kelly who? All right. Devon Sawa, oh my God. Ken Foree, oh my God. This is gonna be amazing. And I didn't recognize the director's name on it because I don't know if you know this or not. That was not the director of the movie. The director, like Andrew Quint, is
Hmm.
a pseudonym for
Yes.
Jeff Burr,
Yep.
you know. And Jeff Burr did Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, did a couple of the Puppet Master
Masters.
movies,
Yeah.
bunch of stuff. Bunch of he's a friend of mine on Facebook. I've interviewed him, love
Oh,
him to
nice.
death. Uh, and so I'm gonna be honest. The first half of this movie pissed me off, and kind of because
I kind
once
of feel I have a feeling I know why the first half is gonna piss you off.
why
It's if you're a cynical person, I would say it was almost like a direct ripoff of From Dusk Till Dawn.
I I saw somebody say in a letterbox review that they could have gotten sued
Yeah, it was
basically
it
for
was
this.
the only thing right because that was the first thing because I even made note. I was like, because I'm a big fan of Tarantino's and I actually liked that movie. And I was just like, ooh, that is pretty close because the characters, the structure. But I what the only thing that saved it was I think when Ken Foree had to do this thing. No, they're not vampires. They're ghouls.
No, when
And
it
I think that's what it's like.
changed, I think that's what
Exactly.
saved the movie from being sued,
Exactly.
really. Where but it was, because the whole idea was that they weren't sucking blood, they were eating the
Eating.
people,
Yep.
and
And they're
uh,
like, we have to behead them and make sure they don't eat. That prevents them from eating and
well,
stuff.
they did behead one of them, and it still attacked the
Oh yeah, yeah,
guy.
no, because like you starve them. Basically, if you cut their heads off and take it away from their stomach or whatever from their stomach, it prevents them from. I
Yeah,
was like, because I was writing every little note because I was like, when I first watched, it, like, man, this started like literally started off like a second rate From Dusk Till Dawn without the Tarantino dialogue.
okay, not even
Like,
just that. It's like it started off with the two
yep.
guys. Now they weren't brothers, like
Mm-mm.
in From Dusk Till Dawn, and they weren't criminals. They were
Mm-hmm.
just guys, taking Spanish fly from Mexico to, I guess, America, right, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and so kind of bringing it across the border and stuff. And so I didn't know Spanish fly was illegal, or what I'm sure it is, but I didn't know that like when I was watching it. So they were like bringing that in, and had a whole suitcase, a briefcase full of it, and which is a very Tarantino thing, the
Mm-hmm.
briefcase stuff. So there was a lot of Tarantino stuff, which is funny because I do believe Jeff Burr actually knows Tarantino. Like I
It
think
wouldn't
they
surprise me because it was almost like I'm not saying it was ripped off because like when you start looking at it, you're like, okay, it's a rip off or it wasn't a homage because like even yet even the stripper right to the stripper when like she was like dancing on stage, I was like it's like oh okay so they couldn't force Salma Hayek so let's
and they
get
couldn't
a
get a snake around her or
no.
whatever. But you know, they had the stripper, so they had the Salma Hayek thing going. They
Mm-hmm.
had um the Ken Foree was the Fred the Hammer Williamson
Mm-hmm.
character. Kind of disappointed that they didn't go all out and have like a guy with a gun with on his dick and everything like that,
Yeah.
like or something. But that
Sex
guy, like the
Pistol,
Tom
yeah.
Savini kind of
Yeah.
character that.
Like I
Just
even know his character was called Sex Pistol.
Sex Pistol. Been a while since I've seen it, but I love
Yeah, because
that
I'm a
movie.
big Tarantino fan. A lot of people always sit there. That's why I just love. I was just like, but I was sitting there watching. It's like, oh, okay, starting in the car, then the strip club scene, then the characters, and I was just sitting there. I was like, okay, but I still enjoyed it though. Like, because when it finally settled in, it kind of became its own thing,
Right.
and I
So the
was like,
first
oh,
half of the
okay.
movie upset me, and I was like,
Mhm.
and I was bored. I was like, I feel like I've seen this a million times. I literally I guess I'm gonna like ruin it for people for the future, but in the future, we're gonna have an episode of Indie Film Cafe, that we did that was basically set in a uh that was like a snake woman. It was Curse of the Snake Woman. It was set in a strip club, and it was
Mhm.
strippers who are, get turned from the snake woman character. Like it's just it feels like I've seen this a million times in a
Yeah.
million different movies, um and that, and there's also I think probably strippers versus vampires kind of thing. There's
There's
all
bunch of
these,
stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah,
strippers or zombies. There's like it's like I think it's because it's a setting where it's like they can control and it has some kind of production value because strip clubs have production value if they actually use an actual strip club because their lighting is already there. So it's not going to be like too like they could play around with it.
right.
But that's my view. But I was just sitting there, it's like I wasn't annoyed. I just kind of chuckled. I was like the whole time I was like my comedian brain was like, oh, someone wanna be getting sued.
I thought
I was
so.
like
And
making
then
notes.
yeah, and
I was literally making notes because like I was like literally was making
and all the way
notes.
up until they push themselves into a room and lock the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that is exactly fucking from Dusk Till Dawn. I was like,
Yep.
that is a scene in the movie. Like I'm literally watching
Yeah,
From
no, I was
Dusk
gonna
Till
say it
Dawn
was
again.
literally watching from dusk till dawn, and then that's when he's just like, because they make a reference, it's like it's vampires trying to kill us, and then I was like, wait a minute, they're gonna have to say something because it was like this literally is almost like from dusk till dawn, and like I said, Ken Free characters like they're not vampires, they're ghouls.
Yeah, but before that, they actually, I believe they lifted a line from Dusk Till Dawn, where the person's like, "Have you ever seen a vampire?" Hmm?
Oh,
Right?
true.
Like, didn't Harvey
I
Keitel or some no, or wait, it was
it
the
wasn't Harvey.
girl. It was
It
the
was
girl. Juliette Lewis was like, no, she said, "Well, do you have any garlic or whatever, or holy,
mhm.
or whatever, all or do we have any silver bullets, that kind of thing." But anyway, the point is like, or
But
has
there was a
anybody ever
line. Yeah,
seen
there's
a
some. Yeah,
vampire?
a
It feels like
vampire.
it's been done in movies, and I'm like, oh God, please, and so I actually, this is funny. This is a funny story, and it actually sparked something to said my former roommate. I came in one day to my former roommate's room with her boyfriend. Were there, they were hanging out, and I said the line. And I'm going to tell you what I meant after I say what I said, but what I said did not make as much sense as what I'm about to tell you, explain, right? I said, imagine a world where there are no zombies. And there was a silence, and then she goes, like this one, like the one we live in right now. And I go, and I was like, no, and I had to explain it later that I meant imagine a world where nobody knew what a zombie was, right? And I still want to get to a day where I make a movie where nobody knows what any of these mythical creatures are, like a universe where they
Mhm,
they end up existing, but nobody knows how to fight them.
mhm,
Like nobody knows crosses or whatever because they have never been able that these things have never existed, and they were never in the culture and the and I think that would be more interesting if you had to figure out, okay, oh, I just chopped somebody's head off. That that stopped this thing, right?
mhm,
And stuff. And you have to make up a word for it. So in the movie they make up a fake word. That would be a cool movie. This in itself with the ghouls and stuff, like I didn't hate the fact that they went with ghouls and stuff.
mhm.
I don't really. I thought ghouls were more like zombies. You
Yeah,
know?
that's because that's how zombies started, was because there were ghouls, the dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I thought that's what they called the zombies in Night of the Living Dead.
Hmm.
They didn't call them zombies, they called them ghouls.
No, they call them ghouls. Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know. Oh, nobody's ever made a movie titled Night of the Living Ghouls.
Hmm.
Just saying. It's
True.
kind of a cool, little twist on the world. I'm giving ideas out here. I'm not gonna
I
make
know. I'm like,
anything.
so everyone's
So
gonna be like writing all these things, and
yeah,
like
so go.
they're gonna make $1 billion, and they're gonna be like, hey, wait a
Ah,
minute, where's our percentage?
I'm not even gonna worry about that because, like, look, if you can make a good fucking movie, I'm excited. This was actually a pretty decent movie
Yeah,
once
I
we got
give it.
past the whole uh from dusk till dawn angle because and then I was like, wait, his friend's dead? Like, I thought that dude was gonna be like a main character. Like, are they already killing off main characters?
Yeah,
And
they were killing off main characters. And what I also liked about it, it turned out to be like a kind of like it's a horror film, but it was gory and raunchy at the same time.
mhm,
It was a good mix. It wasn't like, oh, it's a horror comedy, or it's just a comedy with horror element. It was actually well made. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Like
right.
it was just like, I think the casting really made the movie, because the script wasn't like award worthy, like I'm saying, in the script, but I feel like the directing and the acting kind of made the movie, because they actually put 110% into it. It wasn't like someone just phoning in the performance, because they could have done, like, this movie could have ended up way worse, kind of like phoning it in type thing. But they had some really good actors, especially for example, what was it? The guy who played the friend, Nick, who played the friend who gets killed in it. But he's a really good actor in other things. Like, he's went on like doing all this other stuff where he's actually an actor. Devon's a really good actor. Kelly, who's a really good actor. So I sit there and I was just like,
Ken
they
Foree is
put
a really good actor.
exactly. So it's just like I always remember him from Keenan and Kill. I just that's my
He was
generation.
like the
I'm like,
dad, right? In
yeah,
Keenan,
he
he
was the
was like,
dad.
was it Keenan's dad or Kel's dad?
Keenan's dad. He hated
Keenan's
Kill.
dad. He
You're
hated
drinking
Kel.
my
Okay.
orange soda.
I do, I do, I do.
Yeah,
No,
that's a generational thing right there.
I
Like, certain
know,
people like love him for the horror stuff, and I'm like, I remember him from Keenan and Kill.
I know. Other people are like, oh, I remember him from Dawn of the Dead. I remember him from Keenan and Kel.
Yep, exactly.
That's so funny. Yeah, because not a lot of people grew up on horror, but
Yep.
most people grew up on when they're kids, grew up on kid movies and shows.
Hmm.
And Keenan and Kel was, I think I was a little too old for Keenan and Kel. Like, you're about my age, right?
Yeah, I'm 38, so yeah.
Yeah, you're a little younger. So, like what, 3 years younger. So I
Hmm.
get it. I get it. Like uh, that would sort of be right because it came out, so all that came out when I was a kid, right?
Hmm.
So then Keenan and Kel came out after sort of those guys got to be, I guess a little too old to be doing all that because they
Hmm.
were just getting to the point where they were sort of, and they kind of spun off and became like a duo, people liked
Hmm.
them better as a duo. Good Burger probably helped that out a lot.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that in the movie theaters.
In 95, I want to say. That's what I want to do for Hollywood Knockbusters. So I'll have you on for that at some point.
Oh,
Because
nice.
it didn't really do as well as it should have done, I
Yeah,
think.
it was genius, dude. I was like,
But they
welcome
made a
people
Good
to
Burger
home of the
too. Did you know
good.
that?
They're making one, yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually film. Well, I think it is almost done, because it was before all the writer strike and stuff. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see with that.
Yeah. Well, it's
I'll
just
be the first one. Like, I don't usually go to movie theaters because they're so expensive nowadays, and I'm
tell me
very
about it.
pro streaming. Like, people always laugh like, why are you pro streaming? Oh,
I'm pro
you're
DVDs and
see,
physical media.
I love have DVDs and stuff, but it's just I don't know. I'm like, I need to buy one. Like, I got rid of a lot of my DVDs.
At one
Would
point,
you
I do
want?
want to buy this if this is on DVD because this is, I
Oh,
mean, I
definitely.
would
I would
own
want to.
this.
I want to see if they have a like a DVD commentary track because that's why
Jeff
I would be. I'd
Burr
be
is
like,
known for doing commentary tracks, so I wouldn't be surprised. He's really good at that.
yeah, because I want to see if they mention like if people would look at it like, oh, is this a knockoff second rate version of from Dusk Till Dawn? But
Well, okay.
I really liked it.
So I have to ask you a question.
Mhm.
So every I'm looking at um these what is it, info on the movie, right? Or
Mhm.
whatever. And it says two small ta time drug dealers cross paths with a female assassin, a monster hunter, a Japanese swordsman, and even the devil himself at
Mhm.
a who's the devil himself?
I think it was the hostess, the waitress. The I think
She
she
was
was
the
the.
devil? I thought she was just the queen ghoul.
I feel like she was the devil in it.
Well, this is even Satan himself. Like, who is Satan? They never say, I'm Satan and blah, blah,
Yeah, no,
blah.
that was kind of confusing too because I did look at after the fact, looked it up, but I feel like it would have been her
Let me see if it says anything on Wiki. Um,
because I usually look at wiki and then IMDb, but that was one thing that I was kind of confused because like even Satan himself, I was just like, where?
okay, in order to make it through the night alive, they have to battle with a horde of blood-drinking she-demons whose power is drawn directly from the Lord of the Underworld. So it doesn't actually show the Lord of the Underworld. It doesn't show Satan. He
Hmm.
doesn't come out, which I was thinking Devon Sawa's character was going to be the devil at the end. I thought
That
that
would
would
have
be a
been
really
that
good
would have been an interesting twist.
because like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which normally I feel like some people couldn't do well, but this writer Mitch Gould, who I looked up and it's kind of funny. His name's Mitch Gould. Sounds like
Yeah.
ghoul, but Mitch Gould, he did so not many people could actually do this well. And I think what he did in the movie that was really good, and spoiler alerts for, I don't know if we've already spoiled a
Yeah, there's a
shit ton
lot
of
of
stuff
spoilers.
already, but we're
Yeah.
gonna, that's going to be a lot happening. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it on Tubi. It's free. It's easy to watch. Yay Tubi. Um, so Mitch Gould wrote this. I think that was his name, right? I'm gonna keep saying his name and then realize, oh yeah, okay. So he has a scene where the Kelly Hu and Devon Sawa are alone out. Basically they just killed one of the girls or whatever, and they are talking, and then she mentions that she was actually an assassin for the government, and
Oh
she's here to take
yeah.
care of him, and then he's trying to figure out why she would be coming after him. So they're kind of listing different things, and they finally come up with a thing. I would have thought it would have been cool if by the end of the movie that this all got set up by him, and he was actually luring her out so that the ghoul
Huh.
could kill her, something like that. But really, we already had the twist, which was already seen by me. I already knew. Once
Mhm.
that I was like, once they took the girl with them, I said she's the queen. Like
Mhm.
they're gonna be looking for this other girl. They're gonna try to kill her. Maybe they will kill her. Nothing will happen. Those schools will still come after them, and there's gonna be, that was my take, my guess,
Mhm.
and that the chick was gonna eventually turn. And yep, she turned.
Oh yeah.
When they were alone or whatever, and then she attacked and almost killed Kim Forey, which so happy that he didn't die. I would have been mad
Oh
if he died. Like
yeah.
I really liked him. He was probably he was fun. Once again,
Mhm.
he was the Fred the Hammer Williamson character.
Oh yeah.
He just never Fred the Hammer Williamson in. By the way, I have to keep saying the hammer because I met him once and
Mhm.
I said it without the hammer, and he corrected me and he said Fred the Hammer Williamson, and I was like, okay, I'll
He'd be okay and wink, like okay, wink, wink.
No, he wants me to say it. He wants me to say it every single time, and I will. If that's who he want, if that's how he wants to make sure his name is, like whatever. Uh,
Right.
Anywho, so yeah, I mean, Kim Forey was amazing. But that yeah, so I would have loved to see the devil as a twist or whatever because it's
Mhm.
called Devil's Den, so it'd be fun if he owned it. The
Yeah.
devil owned the thing or whatever. I kind of got this one mixed up. There's another movie, I think that Jeremy London directed that's got
Yeah,
devil,
because
and
there's
I
like
thought,
because there's because this was like Devil's Den and then the Devil's Den.
is that wait, what?
I think because there's like different because this one's Devil's Den and there's
Okay, he
other
did the Devil's Dozen, which is a and that is not available on Tubi, so I don't know where anybody can find that. Maybe it's on DVD, but or maybe it's not even out. I don't know. A lot of some movies don't come out, but it's got like Eric Roberts, Jake Busey, Jeremy London, Omar Gooding,
oh wow.
William McNamara, McNamara, uh, Mr. Rufio
Oh
himself, Dante
nice.
Basco. So it's got an incredible cast. Michael Cade from California Dreams, C. Thomas Howell. Shit, so look at that cast.
Yeah, that had a good cast.
Well, so it's called The Devil's Dozen, and so I thought that's what this was. But then, I did not see Jeremy London's name on it, so I was like, guess it's not the one I was thinking of. Maybe I'll watch that sometime. I don't know, and
Yeah, it
review
was weird
that
because like
somewhere.
even with this movies, like I usually really update like I'm updated on a lot of movies, and especially during this year when it came out, because it came out in 2006. Um, I've never seen this movie. Like this is the first time I've actually seen this movie, and I was just like,
Some of the
wow, like
movies don't even get DVD releases, they just go straight to streaming, or
mhm.
eventually they get picked up by a streamer like Tubi or
Yeah,
somebody puts it out.
licensed, yeah.
Because like maybe it never got a proper distribution. It did say it was distributed by someone, I just don't know. And it said Stars in the beginning. So
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, Stars put this out? Was this like a made for Stars movie? Which
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised or
Yeah,
surprising.
it wouldn't be
Like,
surprising.
wouldn't be made for Stars. Stars probably would pick it up and,
Mhm. And
have it directly
it
from.
was probably before Stars was part of Lionsgate too. So that's what I'm saying because Stars was a different thing. But yeah, that's what I was looking for because I was like, what? Who distributed? Because one said Netflix was also a distributor, and I'm like, how is Netflix a distributor in 2006? Probably was DVDs. Probably that's probably who released the DVD through their DVD catalog because that's probably what happened because they were doing that where they'll license things and when they were still doing DVDs before it was a streaming site. Because everyone forgets that like Netflix just did
Everybody,
DVDs.
yeah. Well, it still does DVDs. They're just not
Their
as
DVD,
well.
yeah, they're actually cutting out the DVDs.
That's
Yeah, they're
what I
getting rid of
heard.
they're getting rid of that whole department. So yeah, so I'd be like, dang.
But anyway, I liked it. Honestly, if I could be nitpicky, I would have cut down that whole or even maybe even cut out the whole samurai guy
Yeah,
thing,
that was weird.
I mean, I
I mean, it
think
was funny.
it was interesting. It was kind of cool to see them like kind of play around with it or whatever, and them kind of control the storyline or whatever but it just kind of went on a little bit too long,
Mhm.
and kind of for me it slowed down the movie a little bit. I'm like, I get it. You're waiting out here in the thing. You have nothing to do for a while, so make up stories about a samurai character you liked in a movie or something. And and it was also a little bit of a bonding thing between Ken and Devon, I guess. But
Yeah, it was
I
just
I
like
just I felt like it just went on too long and kind of boring for me.
I feel like I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I was like I would recommend this movie thing like I was generally shocked because one, I hate watching movies and even TV shows on Tubi or any other thing because I still like commercials breaking up because it takes me out of the thing. That's why I love regular streaming where there's no commercials. It just keeps me attached because when I get brought out, I was like, but even with that, I still enjoyed it. I was like, oh, okay, this is a good, gory, raunchy, like popcorn flick. And like I would recommend it. And I'm like, and then Devon's obsession with squirrels. My God, squirrels. Is there a squirrel? Because he has like a phobia of squirrels.
I guess it's hold on, let me see what that's called. Because there's
Because
got to be a squirrel phobia.
yeah, because every time it says like, oh no, it's just squirrels. Oh no, it's squirrels out here. Like he literally has like this phobia of squirrels. And I wrote it down. I was like, a squirrel's obsession.
And it's
So
called cyrophobia. That's C or no, SCIURO phobia, the fear of squirrels.
because he had a fear of squirrels,
Oh,
like
yeah, it was
like
absolutely.
it was an
It
ongoing joke, and I was laughing the whole
guess
time. I was
what?
like, wow,
They drove him nuts.
right, exactly. Boom, boom.
Dad joke of the day.
Right.
Um, I'll be back. Please tip your waitresses. But yeah, it was, I don't know. Like I
I
didn't
enjoy I
I
enjoyed the
I
practical
enjoyed
effects.
the other half. Like the first
Mhm.
half was okay in the beginning. But once I got to the strip club, I started getting the From Dusk Till Dawn vibe
Yeah,
from
big
it, and
time,
I was
big
like,
time.
uh-oh, these better not be vampires that they're like, it would have been cool if they switched it to demons, because it was called Devil's Den.
Yeah,
So maybe
I
like,
feel like that's what they were implying. I really feel like that's what they did, but I feel like because it was so close. Like I'm saying, it was the first half. Even though I wasn't angry by it, I was just like laughing. Like I said, the comedian side of me, I was like, "Ooh, Tarantino's gonna sue someone," but I was like, "It's way."
I bet Jeff, if he didn't or not, but he might have got Tarantino's blessing, or maybe even
Yeah,
Tarantino saw it and loved it as like a nice little,
homage.
sort of homage,
Yeah,
tribute to Tarantino. Because I like a lot of these guys do know each other because they've been in the film business for so long, and like, Tarantino's watched all those like 80s and 90s, horror films and stuff like that.
and
So
don't get me wrong too. And I love Tarantino. Tarantino's one of my favorite things. Tarantino also Tarantino's a lot of other people's work, but it
yeah.
makes it his own. But I'm just like, so let's like the pot
Well,
calling the kettle black,
I know, but then like it's so funny to see somebody was pointing out before that there in the 90s, right after Tarantino blew up, there were so many ripoffs of Tarantino
oh
movies,
yeah.
and stuff. There was all those, and a lot of them, almost all of them freaking starred Michael Madsen. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Michael, come be in this. Like, I want to know what that like dinner table conversation is between Tarantino and Michael Madsen when they're like looking at each other going, and he was like, why did you take on all those movies when they were like direct ripoffs of my movies? And then he looks and he's like, you ain't putting me in yours, you know?
Right.
And so that's why he
I gotta pay
started
for
putting
my
it back.
alcohol and drug problems somehow. I mean, that's a. I should preface like not get trigger warning there.
You know, it's funny because and I like
The only reason I'm like I'm like I was involved in a movie that was having him, so that's why I'm like I know the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm like
I know, and I think it's like a public record. Like I don't think
yeah.
many people, but
He's still a great actor though. I love his
he's
work. I
I
would
mean,
give money to him right now to be in a movie. I'm just like I he's a brilliant actor. He's a brilliant actor.
even if he was intoxicated, I wouldn't know. Like he does a
Same thing. It was
great
like there
job.
was another
So
actor, him, Tom Sizemore. Like he would like
oh
he was
man, rest in
always
peace, Tom.
yes, I know. Like he was a great actor too. But like everyone have these actors that play these roles. They all have their own personal demons and stuff. So I sit there and I understand. because
I
it's
do.
just,
I had my fair share of demons, and
oh, who hasn't? It's like, why are we doing something that's so narcissistic and vanity driven with egos? It's like, look at me, admire me, you know?
I know you want to be loved. I actually, it's funny. I never got into acting and all that stuff because I wanted to be loved. You know,
You see,
um,
I was never like that though. I
I was
never
never
was
like that
like,
because I was scared of like for the longest time I was terrified of like being in front of people and shit because I was terrified that nobody would love me, or
no,
whatever, and people would be like throwing tomatoes at me or whatever.
it's just like, oh, what's
I don't
funny
know
is
what
it's
what
like,
year I thought I was in, but people throw tomatoes. So
yeah, you
nobody,
never
as far
know.
as
I'd
I
be
know,
throwing
nobody's done
something.
that in a while, you
No,
know.
it's just like I never looked at anything as being like as an actor. Like I always wanted to be a storyteller, make movies, and I know I didn't want to be a writer right away because I was like, I'm not interested in writing at all. Because I knew a bunch of writers. I was like, no, they're just gonna butcher my stuff. That's why I went into acting because I thought that was gonna be a lead into
You know what
directing.
the trick is? You know, the trick is unless you're directing it and producing it yourself, do projects, do writing projects that you don't care if they butcher,
Oh
like
yeah, most
you know what I
definitely.
mean? Because like not that I don't love everything like I write, like in a way, because it is like my baby. And if they go and butcher it, I got paid,
Oh
you
yeah.
know? So like no matter what, I look at it like,
I mean, I'm
I'll
like
be
that's the
happy.
thing is it's like I had like a big thing where I was telling someone because someone was asking advice for me on Twitter. Like only reason I write is because I know I'm writing it for myself either as an actor or as a director producer. Like I
Hmm.
don't it's my voice, it's things that I want to see. Like there's some writers that like you probably you have your own imagination, you're creating all these different worlds and stories and stuff. I don't. I write what I know. Like I'm like a I hate using this because I'm far off of it because I always try to compare myself and compare myself like a Louis C.K. or a Ricky Gervais. They do things for themselves. They're like, okay, I'm creating my own opportunities, things that interest me.
Right.
And I guess you could say Tarantino's the same way too,
Well,
where
yeah,
you'll see like,
Tarantino gives no fucks. He
yeah,
he does everything. Like he's gonna make a Tarantino movie, and you're gonna know when you watch it, it's a
it's a
Tarantino
Tarantino
movie.
movie, exactly.
And that to me is awesome. And that is the sign of a good writer director, you know.
Mhm.
But to go back to this movie, I like honestly, I mean, and it's kind of hard with director for hires to be able to be like, oh, this is definitely a Jeff Burr type film. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
that I know sets it apart. Now,
Same with
Jeff,
same with what's his face, Kevin Tenney, like
well, I don't
yeah,
know. I mean,
yeah, because like he did Arrival 2, which was like he started doing director for hires. Who was that other one
yeah,
that does it? John Borman, I think his name is. He
I
did like
guess, there
80s.
are certain directors who, when they do director for hire, like Edgar Wright, when
Mhm,
he does like uh I mean he directed Scott Pilgrim's versus the World or whatever.
mhm.
And when you look at that movie, it's fucking dope, or
Yeah,
whatever.
you could
You
tell
can
certain
tell it's
directors,
Edgar,
yeah.
yeah, that
Mhm,
he does certain things where like I love the parts where like Shaun of the Dead where somebody will be somewhere and then something will just go right in front of it and all of a sudden it'll be gone,
mhm,
or
mhm.
whatever, and things like that. He does stuff like that and a lot,
Yeah.
and very quick shots, very quick editing. Um, and then you got people like Baz Luhrmann, who I was talking to some people about. Not a really big fan of his.
Mhm.
I just think he's sort of overrated, and I feel like a lot of it's
He's
just
more is he
style and no substance to me, in my opinion.
yeah,
But
he's like except with which weird because he came from a theater background and stuff where his theater stuff is amazing. But film wise, yeah, it's all visual essentials, like it's just all sensory stuff. It's not
it's
there's no
MTV before MTV was reality TV.
yeah.
It was MTV video, music video shit,
Mhm.
which is great. Like, look. I mean, if that's
I
your
love Romeo and
style.
Juliet. I love his Romeo and
Oh,
Juliet.
I love that's actually my favorite.
Yeah, that's one
I
of my
do like
favorites
Moulin
of his.
Rouge.
Moulin
I
Rouge,
like
definitely.
Strictly Ballroom, but then after that, like Australia or
That was horrible. That was like
you
I
know,
couldn't get into it.
or even the new Elvis movie. You know,
Oh, don't get me started on that movie.
I just and like I know a lot of people complain that it's just like not um big problem with Elvis was it wasn't accurate,
Oh
or
yeah, most
whatever.
definitely. But you see,
And
that's the
so,
thing too is you have to think about it because like there's two. It's twofold. One, if he was promoting it like as a biopic, yeah, and he was never promoting it really as a biopic. If you really think about it, even when he was on press, was never doing it. But he kind of reminded me of like he was doing a Quentin Tarantino revisionist type thing, where a lot of filmmakers right now are doing that, and I don't get why they're doing
and
it.
look, I'm okay with it because like after a while, how many Charles Manson movies can you see that's the
True.
same thing as like Helter Skelter? Like after a
Mm,
while, it's the same movie done over and over again. There's these people who make these Manson movies, and most of them, oh, it's great. Somebody gets to play Manson, and we got the girls, but then that's it. It's
there's
like
nothing to it. Yeah,
there's nothing to it.
also I get what you're saying too because I also came from as an actor came from a theater background where when you see Shakespeare over and over, they're always doing revisionist stuff. So that's why like when I first like started making my own movies and stuff, I was like, oh, I'll never do sequels, blah 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 blah, or remakes and reboots and stuff. And then
I would
I'm
love
sitting
to do that.
and I'm sitting after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I being hypocritical when I want to go off and do, say, a revisionist version of Othello or A
Right.
Midsummer's Night Dream? So I'm like, and they've been doing that for hundreds and hundreds of years. So what's the difference between that
Yeah, like
and making
Orson
movies?
Welles did Othello.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I can't be judgmental on it. So I guess it's because I'm getting old
Did you
and
ever see the
bitter.
movie O? It
Yes,
was like
Timberlake
Othello.
Nelson. Yeah, I
Yeah, it was
saw.
so terrible. I thought it was bad. But
Eh, it was. I think it was too. I feel like it was too teen angsty,
it felt
which
like Cruel Intentions. It didn't feel like Othello.
yeah, it had that vibe. I feel like Tim Blake Nelson didn't really have a lot of creative control over it because he's like one of my favorite actor, writer, directors.
I didn't even
Where
know he directed it. That's
oh
funny.
yeah, I think he also wrote it too.
That's funny.
Because he's very artsy fartsy and I really like his stuff. Like I really like his stuff. But I feel like that was one of the things I
I
just
thought
don't feel like it.
he would have been just in it or something because he was
Mm.
he's a great actor.
He was a writer, a playwright before he was even known as an actor because no one
Interesting.
would cast him. That's why he started doing his own stuff. Where he would like he's like award winning like playwright where he would like go to theater companies and stuff and write the play and put himself in it. So because he said I
Hmm.
look like a gargoyle, so that's why he was just like
I
because like
like
he
him. I liked
because he
him in
spent
one of
years.
my favorite things was him in the with John C. Riley and The Good Girl, you know? Had that
Okay.
little bit where he was like the friend or whatever that smoked pot with John C. Riley and stuff like that. And I thought he was hilarious. But my parents like love him in like the Coen brothers, like
Oh yeah, the Oh Brother Where
Oh
Art
Brother Where
Thou?
Art Thou
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And he's great. He's a great actor. I love him.
Oh, he's amazing. And did you see his one of his newer movies, Old Henry?
Not yet.
I recommend watch that. Watch that. You'd be like blown away. You're like, what? It's a slow burn, but by the end, you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, okay,
Like
cool.
it's like it's good. I always recommend that movie
I
just
love
to
how
check
we're
that out.
recommending other movies
I
on a review of a movie.
know.
So yes, to go back real quick because we'll probably just wrap this up on Devil's Den because they're really, I mean, other than the fact that there was some cool scenes, I like the characters, the dialogue was interesting enough, especially that scene with them trying to figure out that he fucked the senator's wife and that's why he's
Mhm.
put on the hit list, or whatever, which abuse of power, maybe. I don't know. And that was the whole idea is like she's probably killed people that he just had a vendetta against and
Pretty
not,
much, yeah.
and now made her feel like she wasn't actually doing, you know, what she needed to be doing in the world. And then at the end, we didn't talk about the end where she does kill the chick, but takes a while. That fight scene could have been cut down.
Oh, most definitely.
You
There were
know,
sections. There's like I said, the samurai section, that section, the when the trap, like yeah. So I was just like,
it's one of those things where like people might be like, "Oh man, this is so cool and shit," and then and then people might be like, "Hey, you probably should cut this out," and you're like, "No, it's so cool. People are gonna love it." And it really is one of those scenes where it just could have been used to cut down a little bit. But I enjoyed most of the stuff, the action stuff. Zoe
oh yeah,
Bell was a Zoe another Tarantino connection. Zoe Bell was in as one of the stunt people in the
oh
movie.
shit.
And Zoe Bell worked with Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Tarantino loves her stuff.
Yeah, she was in a Hateful Eight and
So it's just like, yeah, I
um
feel like I said, I I definitely recommend people checking it out. Like I enjoyed it. It was a good popcorn flick. Like I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I even liked the closing credit sequence. Like that was very Tarantino-esque if you think about it. Did you like the stripper dancing and then the samurai
the
sword and all the
silhouette of a
credit? Yeah,
stripper
it was
dancing and all
very
that stuff.
Tarantino too. I'm like, I wrote notes like closing credit sequence genius. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, that's very Tarantino-ish too.
There's a
So
lot. There's a few.
yeah, I'm wondering if that, like, yeah, there was a lot of references.
Interesting. This came out in 2006, and the
Mm-hmm.
and was it From Dusk Till Dawn came out in 1996.
96. Yep.
So 10 years later, they did this movie. It's kind of they waited 10 years before they would make this
Yeah.
movie that was pretty much the homage to it. I mean, it's not the exact same. They did
Yeah.
save it with changing it to ghouls.
Ghouls. And then of
I
course the ending twist to that there where they leave it open if they do a sequel about werewolves.
Yeah, so yeah, well, I love how they use the rocket launcher at the end because they've been talking about that. So
Mhm.
they, that line, if you mention a gun in Act One, it better go off by Act Three.
Yep.
And so you mentioned a rocket launcher in Act One, it better go off in Act Three, and it
You're
did,
right.
and it finally did, and it blew up the whole house of um, werewolves, I guess. I don't know. Would that kill them? I thought silver bullet was the only thing that
Silver
kills
bullets or something
werewolves.
like, yeah, who knows? Like, they were like,
That was just
yeah,
that would have just hurt the werewolves or whatever. And
dismembered them maybe. You never know.
yeah, I don't know.
That's
It
how I
was
look at it. But I definitely recommend this movie. I really actually, like I said, I watched it on one day. Like I was like, okay, I did my 5 mile walk, had a little lunch, watched it. I was like, oh, I was actually entertained. Like I didn't even look at my phone. Like that's a big thing. Where usually I have my phone.
I
I
always look
didn't.
at my phone, but the movie could be the most entertaining movie, and I'm
This
just
movie
busy.
actually was actually entertaining. I was kind of shocked because I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this because I hate certain I've seen so many things like B movies and stuff and C movies and everyone's like talking like, oh, this and this and this, and I was like, no. So it's like it's sort of like a horror hostess type things and anthology movies are just like, oh my god, and it wasn't that, so I was like, that was nice.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bad movies on Tubi. I don't think this is
oof,
one of them. I think this is higher up. I mean, trust me, I've seen some terrible ones
oof.
recently. I don't know what it is about these movies where they try to like fool you around. Like there was Anna Zayden and I just did one and it's gonna go before this so I can mention it. But we did Blood of the Chupacabras. Us. There's only one, but it was us, you know, like as if that was the name. They always called it Chupacabras. I'm like, it's not Chupacabras, it's Chupacabra, you know. And it was terrible. But
Was that the one
uh
that was it the one by Jonathan something or
hmm
oh, it is okay. That's a Sacramento filmmaker.
what?
It was it was the Jonathan something. I want to say
Mimo or something?
something.
Mims, something like that.
Yeah, he's from Sacramento.
Oh, do you know
Uh,
this guy?
Not like personally, but yeah, he was one of the. I think it's the person I think it is because there was a chupacabra one. Let's see
It was
here.
well, so the original title, Rise of the Chupacabras, but Wild Eye Releasing put it out, and Wild Eye Releasing likes to put out movies where they take the title and change it, right?
Mhm.
Because, people have already bought Rise of the Chupacabras, so now they can buy Rise of the Chupacabras already and then own again Rise of the Chupacabras, but now it's just called Blood of the Chupacabras. Problem was that the sequel was called Blood of the Chupacabras and Rise of the Chupacabras, but they had
Yeah,
to change that one to
Jonathan Mom.
Revenge of
Yeah.
the Chupacabras or something. It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
see, I want to see because I want to see if I'm pretty sure. Yep, Christabella. Yep, I worked with her. Yeah, people I know. Jennifer Crowder, Michael. It's funny, like Jason Michael Fong. He was actually one of the actors in one of my short films in 2007. Yeah, these are John Alexander Jimenez. It was one of Carnahan's early people. Yeah, this was a Sacramento movie. When you said that, I was like,
Well,
that's a
no, because
Sacramento.
like I think you're talking about Blood of the Chupacabras, right? Is that what you looked up? Or
Let's see.
Rise of the Chupacabras?
Let me see. Rise.
Because
Rise is
Rise was the
this.
movie we watched.
Okay, let me check because
And it's
that's the
got a bunch of
sequel,
people
right?
I've never heard of.
Rise of the Chupacabras. He was an actor in it. Original title's called Blood. Rise of the Chupacabra. Do 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 do. Dan Leese. Yeah, this is the Sacramento film. Yeah,
Oh, so you know all those people? Okay.
I know some of these actors. Yeah,
That's so funny.
some of them worked in my movies, my early days. Yeah.
Nice. Well, there you go.
That's
That's a
trippy,
connection right there. That would have been
right?
funny if I chose that one for you, because
I
I don't know, you might have been a little
would I,
skeptical about doing it.
I would butcher it probably, but like because uh, I have no shame.
You have no filter, and that's
No, I
okay
don't.
because we sort of need that. I mean, like I said, we both were probably thinking, "Oh my God, this first half
Mhm.
of Devil's Den was very from dusk till dawn," and it kind of ruined
Oh,
it.
very much so.
Like
Very.
ruined.
It didn't ruin it to me. I was just like, it kept me to act. Like I said, the actors kept me watching. I'm like, ooh, and part of me like, I'm like, ooh, like part of me wanted to like, I was hoping like Quentin Tarantino come out, but like, I'm suing you, motherfuckers.
That
I
would
was
be a
hoping,
great ending to the movie, the credits,
right?
like the post-credit sequence as Tarantino coming up to Jeff Burr's door, knocking on it and going, "Here, here's your summons, bitch." Like
Right,
walking
exactly.
away.
That
And
would have
then,
that would have been meta. Like I would do something like that. I'm the type of person who would
uh,
add some weird meta symbolism at the end, and it'd be like, where did that come from? I'm like, that'd be the comedian side of me. But I
yeah.
recommend it. It was a good
So I
movie.
was watching the credits and I saw that Andrew Quent. I did not know that was like his pseudonym. I don't even know why he took a pseudonym unless he's part of like the DGA and he can't work on a low budget picture like this or whatever without whatever.
Or he wasn't, or he didn't have creative control or something, and that's another
And he
thing.
wasn't
That's
happy with maybe he wasn't happy with that. I don't
exactly.
know. I'd actually love to interview him sometime again. I interviewed him back in the day, back in like the early 2000s and stuff, or whatever, 2006, 7-ish, kind of thing. And he was always super cool,
Mhm.
but I would love to get him on again and just talk a lot about this,
Yeah, pick
about
his brain because because like I even looked at the credits he's done. I was just
I
like
also want to
be,
talk to him about like Puppet Master
oh
and
yeah.
all that fun stuff again. He's done so much.
Hmm.
And so it's really cool. He's such a nice guy. Like he's just one of those people. He's kind of like Donald Farmer, where Donald Farmer just hangs out and is such a cool dude. So I like those guys. And I saw a picture of both of them together, at a convention, and I was so freaking jealous. I'm like, I want a picture with both of them together, you know?
Nice.
Um, but anyway, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm glad you enjoyed the movie because
Oh,
I did.
I enjoyed it and recommend it, which is
I
very, very rare in my case because
I don't know. The movies I've shown you so far, you pretty much like you like the Legion of the Mummy.
that was actually pretty good. I've always because I like, but you see the thing with those movies because I understand what they're not doing. They're not being pretentious. I think same with Killer, but it's when people are being too pretentious, holier than thou. It's like this is a masterpiece. I'm making 3 hour B movie with a hostess, like a horror hostess. That's a third rate. Yeah, I can't do things like that where I'm just like, oh my god, this is like take pride in your work, but it's I think it's pretentious and ego because
I
I see some
honestly
stuff where
think
I'm
if
just
you're
like,
gonna make a serious horror film, it's got to be under 90 minutes,
oh, most
or
definitely.
90 minutes or less.
I feel like a lot of movies could be 90 minutes and less, like especially if it's low budget. Keep it tight because you don't have the budget to use all these effects. Because like I just watched this one action film and I have a group of friends on it. I don't think I'll ever work with them, so I'm not. I'm like, but it's just like they keep popping out certain movies every few weeks. And I was watching this one, which I don't want to badmouth it, where it was called Another Way to Die, and it was released by Cinema Epoch,
Right.
and they put everything on TV 14 where they could release it, and it's has effects and stuff, and they don't even show the effects because it's just they shoot running gun. It looks bad. It was like I was just like, wow, why why make something and just to put it out there? Because there's people that do that that still put some quality to it, like Roger
Mm-hmm.
Corman, Lloyd Kaufman. Back in the day, you have Joe Dante and Sean Sales and all these other movies. So I'm just like, it just
Well,
makes me shake my head like, ugh.
and I'm gonna say this, like, I feel like a lot of times, unless, you know,
And it's
there's a
not me
lot of
hating.
action
It's
films.
not making me. I'm not hating these people. I don't want people to think that it's not my type of films. But it's like I feel like they're not putting an effort into it.
I was looking at your Another Way to Die on IMDb, and like the thing is, it's an action film. Like
Mhm.
it's not horror, it's not comedy, it's not whatever. It's an action. Like it's that genre, and that genre in particular is very sort of like hit or miss kind of
Mhm.
thing indie wise. And I for me, unless you're out there making, like in the 90s had some amazing uh action flicks, you know.
Mhm.
So and some of them were
Oh yeah, there's
I
some
bought a
terrible
bunch
ones.
of them, like Karate Cop. Oh God, can't wait to
Yeah.
dive into that. Omega Cop by the same actor of Karate Cop, you know. And it sounds very similar. By the
Is
way,
it?
when the distributor says not too distant future and says TO distant future, not to distant future, not and I'm like, no, it's two, it's TOO. You can't
Yep.
even grammar check and
Right.
um I saw one movie recently where and recently, like it just came out recently, where they miss misspelled the lead actress's name.
Oh,
So
is it that Barbara? Was it?
no,
Oh, okay,
it
okay. There
wasn't a
was one.
Barbara. It was a Jennifer, and
Oh,
they called her
wow.
Jennifer.
Oh, wow.
And so I
Wow.
sent it to her because I'm friends with her. I said, I didn't know you changed your name. She hasn't
You
sent me
see,
anything
I
back.
don't get that. That's another thing. Is just like people don't put in the effort in like, yeah, I hate when they don't grammar check, make sure that titles are correct. That's just one of my people. I could do a whole podcast on that.
Well, I mean, that would just be one episode because, like, really, that's literally all you'd argue, you say is just all these are just done like badly. But like the point is, like, yeah, fucking do your work, man. Like you have one
Exactly.
job. Your one job is to
Exactly.
make sure the back of a, cover is up to par, you can do it, you know. So
Exactly.
All right. Well, I guess that about wraps it up. I want to thank you so much, Chad, for coming on
Thank you for having me.
and
This was a
chatting
great
us.
movie. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yes. Jeff, we loved it. So please, like, I'm glad, we loved it because sometimes we don't love stuff and everything. And, I don't want him to like listen to this and be like, oh God, you guys hated it. No,
Hate it
we
and slit
actually
his
liked
wrist.
it. But
It's like hate it and slit his wrist. They
yeah.
hated it on a podcast. Things can happen. You're gonna get
I,
canceled.
I mean, people would like people know, but there are people that like freak out if you don't like their stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's a director out there that just if you say anything negative, he'll freak the fuck out on you.
Or send
And I'm like,
lawyers.
what?
And send lawyers.
Uh,
Dun,
mm,
dun, dun.
some
Wink,
information
wink,
that I know.
nudge, nudge.
Yeah. So all right, well, thank you guys so much, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Check us out next week for a new episode. Bye.